I emailed St. Patrick to see if he objected to you sharing this day with him. He quickly emailed back to say, if that man can serve 40 years in the name of education, then he has my permission to share this day with me. The board knows and appreciates your leadership and contribution of your time and talent as a board member and especially as chairman. You have chaired with dignity and positive determination, and at times this has not been easy. In the last few years, we as a board have attracted much public attention, and under your guidance, we have overcome many, if not all, obstacles. About 10 years ago, as chairman of the nominating committee, I was asked to contact you. Of course, you were traveling up east, and tracking you down was difficult. The minute you heard my voice, you said, no. But I knew in my heart you meant yes. As I went on to explain to you that you could not serve on a board for 30 years and not take your turn as chairman, you said, okay, Ozzie, but don't expect me to remain chairman for very long. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, he's still with us and has quite a long way to go. In closing, I would like to say, we love you, we are proud of you, and we are very happy to dedicate this building in your name in honor of your outstanding service to PJC, PCC, and this community. Mr. Chairman, congratulations.
I have the pleasure of introducing special guests. I won't be able to do all of that. The turnout is overwhelming, and I promised you it would be a heartfelt but brief day. But I will introduce a few of the people who have come here today. First and foremost, I want to recognize Marcia Nemer. Marcia, thank you for 30 years. And then on the remainder of the front row are members of the Nemer family, his daughter, his grandchildren, and other relatives. If you would all please stand so we can recognize you. And representing the University of Kentucky, our parent organization, is someone who represents us so well throughout the year. It's the Vice Chairman of the Board of Trustees of the University of Kentucky, a Paducahian, Dr. Robert Merriweather. Dr. Merriweather. To all of you who have come today, a heartfelt thank you. I know you'll forgive me for not introducing all the special guests we are. I shouldn't be surprised knowing Marshall Nemer, but we are overwhelmed at the attendance. We thank you all. You all are so special to us. Here to make a few remarks on behalf of the Nemer family is Michael Resnick.
Go ahead, take a shot. Thank you so much. Well, I recall the words of, I believe it was Groucho, his famous quote about wondering if he really wanted to belong to a club that would have him for a member. The family not only took me in, but now I've been called upon to speak. They're letting me speak. I don't know. I tend to have a reputation for being verbose, It's entirely unwarranted. And I've promised Lynn I would take no more than 4 hours because some folks want to get to church after this, so don't worry. I like to go over, a lot of fellows do, over in the afternoons. There's a coffee clutch. I recall when we first learned that Marshall was having a building named after him. Marshall showed up that day. He usually does if he's in town. And you know, we guys, we like to trade rumors and insults with each other. And when they learned that Marshall was going to have a building named after him, the insults were, pretty thick. And he said, well, really, this is not that big a deal because for years there have been individual rooms on campus named after me. And everybody says, well, how's this or what? And he says, half of the restrooms on campus already have my initials on the door. Marshall, Eugene, already been for years. And it's true. You can go look. I wonder how many of you, is it am I on track, still under 4 hours? I wonder how many of you here can appreciate the notion that somebody would have been able to, well, the only thing I can think of is put up with serving on a board for 40 years. I have served on a number of boards, a non-paid director on a number of boards. And I started serving on boards about 1979, I would say. And really soon after that, I started saying no every time I lifted up the phone, folks. And I don't know how he can do it, or has done it. I wonder how people can really think about what it takes to do that. Could I have a show of hands? Now, you didn't know this was going to be a participatory event, but how many of you have served as non-paid directors on the boards of some organization or agency? Just raise your hand. Oh my gosh, no. They all know it. I guess I can sit down. It is, to have done this for all that time is truly, truly an amazing accomplishment. And what's really amazing, in addition, is that Marshall's volunteerism has not been limited to PCC. He has served on a number of boards as a non-paid director, has volunteered for in many capacities. When there used to be a place that served free Thanksgiving dinner to senior citizens, and he would be there every Thanksgiving. He's volunteered for years at Lourdes Hospital. Every Christmas, he and Aunt Marcia are at the gift shop at Lourdes Hospital, keeping that open for people that unfortunately have to be there so that other people don't have to be working that day and they can be with their families. I can't, I try to recite all of the different volunteer efforts that Marshall's participated in, but I would leave some out, and that would not really do him justice. So I really, if I wore hats, I look goofy in them. If I wore hats, I would take mine off to you, Marshall, because your level of commitment to the community and to this institution has been truly monumental, and I salute you for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. The name Rosenthal has been etched in the annals of this institution from its very, very beginning. We have a building on campus bearing that name. very first chairman of our Board of Trustees. He's the father of our next speaker. And that gentleman, the elder Rosenthal, is credited with, among other things, keeping the institution afloat when it looked like we would not survive those very tough days in the 30s. And I will not embarrass our speaker by going in again to all depth for all the things that his father did accomplish for us, but his dad did keep this institution around in tough times. That legacy continues. All of you, I'm sure most at least, know Warren Rosenthal and know of his achievements and how proud Paducah is of him. Mr. Rosenthal is a great benefactor and supporter of this institution. Today, however, he comes to us as a friend of our honoree. They have known each other for some time. It's my pleasure to introduce Warren Rosenthal.
Friends, it's really a privilege to be here and to be invited to say a few words about what's his name? I had to be, I found out at lunch, not the first, but probably the third person in this community to know Marshall. I remember when this brash Chicago boy with a Midwestern accent came a-courting Marshall. A few years later, Betty and I returned to Paducah, took up residence in the Charleston apartments, and our down-the-hall neighbors were the Nemers. I've been concerned about how this Chicago foreigner would fit in with our homegrown folks. Those over on Kentucky Avenue at the marketplace. But it didn't take too long for that Chicago twang to melt into a Paducah drawl. And with his good nature and charm, to make friends at every turn. You know, Marshall has never met a stranger, and to my knowledge, has never made an enemy. In fact, people finally have decided that he truly is a hometown boy. He's a master of good humor, joviality, self-deprecation, but one can't be fooled by that facade because we know that actually he has a keen mind capable of persuading others to follow his leadership. You know, some people are industrious leaders who labor for monetary goals. Some people can be counted on to be on hand to make financial contributions, leading by example in the support of a great cause. But I believe there's no more occupation or avocation in this world than to assist another human being, to help make it possible for someone else to succeed, or to make life better for a little child that man or nature has damaged. This describes Marshall, who goes that extra mile beyond just monetary contributions, with his love for mankind, his community, and for worthy causes. He gives the greatest gift of all, himself, whether it be serving the needs of Lord's Hospital and its patients, or the college, 10 years of which he has been chairman of the board of the 40-year tenure as a board member. Marshall has that extraordinary quality called love for his fellow man. And he feels the depth the delight and the ecstasy of this. And we discover that because of him, just a little piece of this world has been transformed into a better place to live. There are those who would quietly sit by as a board member or bask in the glory of being the chairman. Marshall, however, accepted as his duty the challenge, the responsibility, and the accountability as chairman of Paducah Junior College and Paducah Community College. No one could have shown more tenacious loyalty and dedication and love for this institution than Marshall Nemer. And so it is so fitting that today a building dedicated to learning, to the young people of this area, and to the betterment of this community, that this day shall be from all days to come, honored with the name of Marshall Nemer. Marshall, we all congratulate you, and we're all proud to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Warren. There really isn't much left for me to say, but as I told them I wrote it, I'm going to say it. Calvin Coolidge said that nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men of talent. Genius will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. The slogan, "Press on," has solved and will always solve the problems of the human race. I believe that's largely true, but I would subscribe even more to what Martin Luther King told us about the world. Simply stated, he said that life's most urgent question is, what are you doing for others? That Marshall Nemer has been persistent in his devotion to this institution speaks for itself. 40 years on the board. I wish I had seen all 40, but I can tell you from my short experience of 5 years here, that Marshall Nemer's determination and tenacity and persistence is visible every day. Those of us who work here know that he is here 4 and 5 times a week working on projects. He belongs to every committee of the Paducah Junior College Board of Trustees. When the Chamber of Commerce a few years ago decided that we needed an engineering school in Paducah, it was the chairman of the board who came forth immediately and said, "We'll do it," and has hung with us through some tough times and now some fairly pleasant times to make that engineering school happen. He is on campus frequently to advise me. Matters great and sometimes not so great. But with Marshall, of course, there's always the element of good humor. And so I could segue into a few funny stories and a few jokes. Someone even gave me on my way here today the official Irish joke book. And if you flip it over, it is the official Jewish joke book. It says, "You won't believe how funny, even if you're Jewish. What I learned a long time ago, never kid a kidder, especially one who's going to have the microphone when you're through." But when it comes to compassion, Marshall Nemer has it in spades. Because he is a consummate kidder, not many people perhaps know that about him. But this is a man who cares deeply about his fellow human beings and deeply about this institution. And no matter what we call upon him to do, he always, always says yes. He belongs to various state-level committees because of the work that he does here, and that takes him to Frankfurt and to Lexington. So a man in retirement is working 4 and 5 days a week for this institution. And then he's at Lourdes Hospital, and then he works for the St. Nicholas Family Clinic. And each time you see him with people, you can see how their heart sings when they are with him. As Warren said, there's really no greater gift than that. When you can bring that kind of exhilaration to others and hope to others. About a year ago, maybe it was less than that, the Nemers and the O'Haras went to dinner at Catfish Kitchen. And something happened at dinner that is a story that could probably be told 10,000 times over, but it epitomizes the man and it epitomizes what he does for all of you and for me and for this community. We were having our catfish when a youngish, of course when you get my age everybody seems young anymore, couple came over, and they were obviously not people of great means, and perhaps as the world would define, maybe not great sophistication either, but they came all the way across that open restaurant, winded their way through a couple of tables and came to our table and said, "We just had to come over to thank you, Marshall." They don't believe they knew his name. We had to thank you for what you did for us and for our family when one of our loved ones was at Lourdes Hospital. You gave us hope. You gave us cheer. You got us through some very, very tough times. I don't know if the hospital knows this or not, but you're certainly the most valuable employee that they have. These folks had no way of knowing that this was a volunteer who comes to the hospital a couple of times a week to help out. All they knew was that this human being took extra time and extra effort and did extra things to get them through a tough time. And when I am with Marshall Nemer, I never meet a stranger either. And when I'm with Marshall Nemer, I see in the eyes and the faces of the people that we encounter, people who see this man as bringing joy and sometimes hope when needed to them. And so yes, he's done great things for this college, and yes, the 40 years alone warrants some kind of recognition. But it is in that giving that we dedicate this building to Marshall Nemer today. It is for his humanity and for his compassion that we dedicate this building today. And I hope that it stands as a symbol to all of us for what each of us can do on behalf of other human beings. Folks ask me what is great about Paducah. I tell them what you tell them. It's the people. And Marshall Nemer epitomizes what our people are and what all of us can be. Together, that kind of volunteerism will bring this community to even greater heights. So, Marshall, I wish that I had been here for the 40 years to see all the good that you have brought to us. But I will not resort to kidding a kidder. I will simply close by saying on behalf of the Board of Trustees how fitting it is that we dedicate a building that will always bear the name of Marshall Nemer. I have a small token that I have the privilege of presenting to one who exemplifies the best in our community and who has given great things to this institution. And so before I do turn the microphone over to you, I ask all of you to join me in congratulating and thanking Marshall Nemer as I present him with his President's Medallion, which is inscribed with today's date. Well, this community college does have a unique arrangement and a unique relationship with our city and with our county. We are so good because this city and county are behind this community college. We are the only community college that enjoys this relationship. And Mr. Mayor and Judge, please forgive me for that oversight. Your presence here is important to us today. I'll turn it over to both of you.
I have often thought, many years ago, the parents of those who grow up here in Paducah and McCracken County made a decision, either consciously or unconsciously, that if our community was to grow and prosper, we must go out into the world and seek top quality new citizens to come here and live. I strongly suspect that one trait to look for was get someone who can't say no. The reverse of a famous phrase today. Sam Finkel, and in case you don't know who Sam Finkel is, he is Marshall Nemer's father-in-law, now deceased. Was a master recruiter. So to Sam Finkel's son-in-law, that's what I call him, and you can't teach old dogs, or should I say old politicians, new tricks, is with a fond affection, I join with Judge Orazine in signing and presenting this proclamation from the citizens of Paducah and McCracken County to you, Marshall. For the many years of countless hours of devoted, unpaid for, in a monetary sense, volunteer civic service, we all are proud of you for this long and continuing, and note I said continuing, splendid service.
That was the one joke that President O'Hare was not afraid to play on. You get you up and get you ready to speak, make you sit back down. Michael, you got my, where is mine? Right here. You got my other joke, but after they do put his initials on this building, you ladies are still permitted to go inside. I'd like to say with this group that we have here today, there are several young people in the group, and this is part of what Marshall Nemer represents, and especially this institution is what he's devoted his life to and what it will mean for people that are striving to do better today and in generations of tomorrow. But I'd like to say just one thing, I'll keep this brief. As we go through stages of life and our priorities change, and I've got to the stage in my life where my friends, my family, and my health and the well-being of this community are the most important things to me. And ever since I've known Marshall Nemer, I can take at least two of those things out of those four categories and say that I'm proud to know that this man represents those well. And one thing is a friend. And we have friends in different categories. You have your church friends and social friends and golf friends and whatever. But as a community-minded, civic-minded friend, Marshall Nemer is one of the best that I have, and I'm proud to say that today because I've never seen anyone so devoted and wanting nothing out of it for what he does. And I'm very proud to say and have you as a friend, Marshall Nemer. And I've never met anybody that has any more to heart the well-being of our community. His energy and his time are endless, and it's just my privilege to be here and be a part of this ceremony today. And in speaking of friends, we got to keep this a little lighthearted because we've got to live with him a long time after this. But you know, a really good friend covers for you. I mean, if you come up short on money or you get in a little trouble, they'll cover for you. And I can say in my time that with Marshall being in the clothing business, he's covered my behind several times. Ladies and gentlemen, as the mayor said, we're going to proclaim March the 17th as Marshall Nemer Day, and I think it's fitting that I should read this. A lot of the times our proclamations are difficult to read and don't really say a whole lot, but this one does, so I would like to read it. In appreciation of Marshall E. Nemer, whereas Marshall E. Nemer served as a successful and well-known business owner, and he has upheld a weekly commitment as a volunteer worker for Lourdes Hospital, and he was instrumental in the establishment of the St. Nicholas Family Clinic, and as an active community leader, he has served on numerous boards, including the Paducah Airport Corporation, Citizens Bank and Trust Company, Lourdes Hospital Advisory Board, Rotary Club of Paducah, and the Purchase Area Development District Health Advisory Committee. And whereas he shared his leadership abilities with service as president of the Temple of Israel, and he has served as a member of the Paducah Junior College Board of Trustees for 40 consecutive years, and since 1986 he has served with distinction. That was an honest one there. This was getting a little serious. Now I lost my place. As chairman, and his ever-present enthusiasm and positive attitude provides encouragement to the entire PCC family to excel. Now, therefore, Danny Orzane, County Judge Executive of McCracken County, Kentucky, and would you like me to name you? You. And Albert Jones, Mayor of Paducah, do proclaim and hereby proclaim March 17, 1996 as Marshall E. Nemer Day.
One thing I want to say, just keep standing, but one thing I've always wanted to do for many years, since 1941, I guess, I wanted to say, hello, former Scoutmaster, Warren Rosenthal.
I have one other thing, this will be very short. We have one, just stay right here. We have one award that we give people in McCracken County that we think have served with distinction, and it's what we call a court award. It's similar to the Duke of Paducah, but it's a court award issued from the government of McCracken County. Can I hold this in front of your face? And it's my pleasure on behalf of all the citizens of McCracken County to present you this award. And if you want to turn that around, you can now say you are a ward of the court.
Judge, I've got a file in my office there that I have, it's called tax and assessments, and I'm going to put this right along with all the damn tax bills I've got for the city and the county. But thank you very much. I appreciate it. Well, there we go, Brown of you. Go Irish, go Irish, go Irish, right? Let's cover all bases, my friend Herb Milton. Next thing I have to do is to censor my speech here. Yeah, this part right here, they already took care of that part. I told about the issues on the washrooms.
I have to speak first, what can I say?
Well, that's all right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. To my family, to the Board of Trustees of Paducah Junior College, Paducah Community College, to the faculty, and to all my friends here today, thank you for being here. Today is my lucky day. I looked for a four-leaf clover this morning in my backyard, but I couldn't find any. But I didn't need to find one because I'm so lucky. Anyway, I'm here today because I was lucky enough. Oh, hell. I thought I could get past that first paragraph. But I was lucky because back in 1941, I was asked by my sister-in-law if I wouldn't do her a favor and if I wouldn't have a blind date with her sister up at Northwestern University. Marcia was visiting up there. And so with that wonderful girl, and we met, and we were married back in 1944. And I'm lucky because I was settled in Paducah after I got out of the service back in 1945. And for all of you young kids, that was the end of World War II. And I know that even though I had served here for 40 years, I do look young, I know that. But I'm also awfully lucky because I got a great family of in-laws. I got Mr. and Mrs. Sam Finkel. I got my brother-in-law, Victor Yaffe. I got Carolyn, and I got their children. I don't think I'm going to get through this thing, but I'm going to get it. Just bear with me. Marcia and I were very lucky because in August 1950, our daughter Sally joined us. And in 1953, our son Bob arrived. And I've been very fortunate because in April of 1956, former Mayor George Jacobs appointed me to the Board of Trustees of Paducah Junior College, which afforded me the opportunity to serve with such people as Dean Matheson, Dr. Don Clemens, Tom Waller, George Crowns, past Chairman Royce Gregory, past Chairman Leon Williams, and the many members of our faculty that have been so outstanding. And there are so many others who have given and who are still giving to this school. They're giving their time and their efforts to provide a quality education at an affordable price for the citizens of our area. Just 5 years ago, this past February 1st, was a favorable day for all of us. For that was the day that Dr. Len O'Hara assumed the presidency of Paducah Community College. We were very fortunate to have Len and his wife, Darlene, join us here in Paducah. Len has given us, in his short tenure, the vision, the leadership, and the drive that has made Paducah Community College the leader among the 14 community colleges in the University of Kentucky system. And Len, you forgot to introduce the judge, the mayor, and so I feel good about that. I really do. Who do? That's okay. That's all right. I thought I would mention that before I went any further because several years ago when I was the master of ceremonies at a Christmas dinner at Lourdes Hospital, and we used to have a big deal out of that thing, and we'd have a program, and we'd have the sisters would sing and all of this kind of stuff, and the president of the hospital would make his speech, and then the sisters would make a few little speeches, and then we always finished up with the bishop. And you know how important the bishop is to the Catholic community. Well, being Jewish, I realized that working with all the Catholics all those years, but one year I forgot to introduce the bishop. But just like this crowd, nobody got up and left. But they called my attention to it, and I did let him speak, and we carried on. But I do want to thank you for your leadership, and if you would join me in just applauding, thank you for Dr. O'Hara for his We've come a long way since 1932 when the school was started. There are people like Warren's dad and others in the community. And I wish you would have the opportunity to know, to think, the thinkings of this man, the plans that this man has for our school and where we're going to go, where we're going to be. I hope that I'm still able to appreciate, I may be senile, really senile by then, but in 10 years from now, it's just unbelievable what this institution is going to be doing in higher education. And we all owe that to this gentleman sitting right here who has set the basis for all of this future advancement in education. And for that, again, I have to thank you, ma'am. So I'm very lucky and I'm very grateful for the many opportunities that I've had that have enabled me to give something back to the community, which has been so good to me and to my family. I give credit to my parents and to my religious beliefs, which, as one of my Christian friends says, comes from the left side of the good book. And to my strong belief in the Rotary International motto of service above self. And then I tore off that part of and so I have to tear this part off. And I get down to the end, in which I say, for the past 40 years and for the present, I am most grateful and humble, and I look forward to the exciting future that lies ahead for Paducah Community College, for Paducah and McCracken County. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Paducah.
The community chorus is coming back in, and they will sing My Old Kentucky Home. Immediately following that, if all of you would join us just outside these doors for a very brief ribbon cutting ceremony, and then we welcome you and invite you to walk through the Nemer building and also to join us for a reception of and an opportunity to thank Marshall Nemer personally.
The sun shines bright on my old Kentucky home. 'Tis summer, the chill